Okay. The August 20th, 2014 City Council meeting will come to order. And I'll be filling in for Mayor Dave Jones while he's on vacation tonight. So I'm still a council member, so I still will be able to participate in the discussion and vote. So there are no changes to the agenda. So do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. And we have the consent agenda to approve minutes of the August 6th, 2014 council meeting. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Next, we have the second reading of ordinance number 953, an ordinance designating the 2014 urban revitalization area. And so we have, this is our second reading, and Dave, would you like to explain what's going to happen with this if we approve it tonight?
Okay, what's going to happen is, in the aim of the council was to make this a 3-year program. It's going to be more like 3 years plus between today's date and December 31st. So it's not necessarily going to be three-year on the spot program.
Oh,
But
this is the second reading too.
Yeah.
if the second and third is waived tonight, we'll just call it in effect upon the date of it being published in the paper. But do you guys understand how the mechanics of how this is going to work for the typical homeowner? And I'll give an explanation. So say tomorrow, the ordinance is in effect. I want to add a garage to my property, and I get it done in this, I get it done 2 weeks from now. The 2014 assessment of my property, the assessed value, let's call it $50,000. I can make application to the city for prior approval for eligibility for this tax abatement. And I can do that between now and December 31st of this year. And the city in its application will contain questions just to determine whether or not it's eligible. So if the city deems it eligible, then I will, sometime between January 1 of next year and February of next year, I'll make application to the county assessor for this abatement. And she'll do her own investigation as to whether or not it's eligible. And so if the increase value from the 2014 to the 2015 is, say, $25,000, would be the assessed value would be $75,000. Then on that increase there would be the abatement on the $25,000.
Okay. And so it will not be anyone who has already done construction before now.
Before today, assuming that
Say back in
today.
July they completed their project, they will not be eligible.
Correct.
It will not be retroactive.
It will not be retroactive.
And as ordinance is written now, does it state that?
It doesn't need to, because
It's
in the
law.
law, that's what
State
it
law.
says. Yeah.
Okay.
And the county assessor will not allow, nor should the city allow it to be eligible if it's not an eligible improvement if it's completed before today's date, assuming today is the effective date of the law.
Okay, and at one time we had talked about having the community development committee, applications go through them, but the way we've got it written now, there would be no need for that, correct?
I'm unsure as to that.
I think they added language in the case where there was a property that was under a TIF. In the original agreement, they were excluded. They talked about, under the revised plan that you adopted, it may be eligible. It would first go to the Community Development Committee, and they would make a recommendation to the council of whether to include it or not.
But we changed the wording and that's not in there now.
So that is the wording that's in there, that it would be reviewed by the Community Development Committee, and those, only in those cases where it's part of a tax increment financing
Oh, that's right, okay.
district.
So the final year of eligibility for an eligible improvement, if somebody does an improvement to their home in 2017, then in order to obtain the abatement, they would need to make application between January 1 and February 1 of 2018.
Well, Dave, if a residential improvement project is in progress at this time and they're not finished, that's what I'm reading here, there seems to be some murkiness there.
Well, Brenda does her assessment each year, and so this, let's just say I'm right in the middle of building my garage. There's really no value added until that garage is close to being
Substantially
completed.
completed.
Yeah, substantially completed.
But she might put a partial value when she does inspections in the fall. She normally does that. If you take a
Yeah.
house and if you're half done, she might put half the value or whatever.
She may, and I don't know how she does it, but it's at that time of the complete, it's at the time that, so we're just talking about right now. If there's an improvement that's in the process of being worked on by a homeowner. We look at the value, assuming that the law were enacted today, we try to get the value as close as possible. It may be an estimate, but as close as possible to today's date. And that's up to Brenda as to how she qualifies that. And it could also be up to the city in our application form that we give to the applicant. We can try to flesh out as much information as possible to get a good idea as to what the approximate value, assessed value is as of today.
Do we have the application form already? I thought I'd seen,
Yeah.
we've seen that, right? Yeah.
Does it request that?
Request.
The value at the time of the application?
That can be added. The city administrator and I have discussed that. But at the moment, it does not have it on there.
That doesn't have to, that form doesn't have to be approved by us, it's just a form that.
It's just a form.
If
You
you
can just ask me
find
to
out
do
that
whatever and we'll do it.
If the council wants to prove, we can bring it to you. I think in talking to Brenda, the difficulty is those projects under construction. The only thing she knows is, she said, what the value is when she went out last fall and did the inspections, and she'll know again this next, when she comes out shortly in the fall to do the inspections. Where it stands on the point that I mean, she knows what it was in the last one. Let's say it had very little value last fall, and she goes out this fall and it's completed or substantially complete. She doesn't really know when that was completed and how much of the work and how to allocate that. I think, the council looking at it first, the original language said you'd go back to January 1, and Bob Jostin said you can't do that, you can't do it retroactively, so that language was taken out and said it goes back to the assessor. But in a way, the assessor says it's a little unfair because she doesn't know. All she can do, she says, I'll use what the base is 2014, and then whatever's been added, that will be eligible for abatement, except for some of those projects could have been completed prior to adopting this or substantially completed. I think
Now,
Bob
won't
did
they
say.
won't they have to come to the city though and fill out the application?
Well, and that's the point that I think I try to make in the notes. The other option the council has is that instead of, there's really two ways you could have done it. I suppose you could say it'll become effective with the values that the assessor places on the properties this fall, assuming that a lot will happen between September and when she's out there. And then the next year, anything added would be abated. Or the council could take the responsibility of getting that information and making that determination. But like Brenda kind of said to me, you know, don't ask me because I don't have the information. I can't make that determination.
So if somebody has a house mostly built, from what we can see on the outside, it is built, so we're gonna assume the inside's done. And they come in, like say we pass this tonight, and then they came in tomorrow and filled out the application,
They wouldn't be eligible.
because we
most
would
likely.
know that their house is done.
Yes.
But it doesn't have to be done. I mean, what, according to Bob, what, in essence, if you're really kind of splitting hairs, you'd say it can't be started until after September 3rd. But he did say that the assessor, and I think this would cause some confusion, has the discretion that if it's a de minimis, a small percentage of it had been done, maybe they just poured the foundation or something, that she has the discretion, she could go ahead and say, basically, anything that was done will be added instead of trying to break out a small portion of the cost.
But not if that improvement had started 1 year from the effective date, prior to the effective date. So if that foundation was poured 1 year and 1 day prior to today, that wouldn't be eligible.
So after this gray area period, it looks like it would become more black and white.
Yeah.
Starting in 2015.
Yes.
After this year, you won't have a problem, because anything that's done after this year, there's no question.
Yeah, working with Brenda the coming months, if there's, needs to be any tweaks to it, then we'll tweak it.
I think we need to get a motion.
I make a
And then we
motion,
can talk about it more.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 953
On the second reading.
on the second reading.
I'll second that.
Okay, now we can have discussion. Is there any discussion from the council?
As written, you're fine with the way the ordinance is written?
I am.
Okay.
Okay. I see some hands in the audience raising. Can we have them talk? Or do?
It's up to you.
Oh, okay. All right. Don, I saw your hand raised, but you have to come to the podium.
I would say if
You
someone
have to come up to
had
the
one of these
podium.
projects
Don,
that would
wait.
start, oh,
Come up to the
To the
podium.
where's the microphone?
It's right
Up
Up
there,
there,
the
yeah.
ceiling.
Oh, look up, Don. I would say if anyone had a project started, let's say, a month ago or 2 months ago, and then this is passed tomorrow, if I was that person, I would sure get me all kinds of pictures that are dated showing the progress, because then you could take that information to Brenda, and between the different folks can decide what that value was. Or if somebody doesn't give you what you think is a fair value, have some legal basis to work with.
Good idea. Documentation.
Can I talk, please?
Sure.
Now, you're gonna waive the third reading then?
We haven't got that far.
You haven't got that far. I encourage you to waive the third reading to get this started. That's all I can say.
Okay, well, we have a motion and a second, so this is roll call, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Jimerson?
Aye.
Hayes?
Aye.
Hardkoff?
Aye.
Summers?
Aye.
Stewart? Aye. Court?
Aye.
Okay, second reading of ordinance number 953 has passed on second reading. Is there an interest or a motion to do the third reading tonight as well? To waive the rules, is that what it's called?
My thoughts are, we probably shouldn't, just any more public input can be gotten between now and then. Don't need to move too fast.
I would make a motion myself to suspend the rules and have this third reading. I have not received any negative comments regarding this at all.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, then how do we do that? Do we have to do a roll call? Go ahead.
So the way the motion is, what is the motion?
It would be to waive the requirement of having a third reading.
Third reading and proceed with the third reading at this time.
So this is just a vote whether or not to waive it,
Right,
not to
right, to
vote
waive.
for it or against it. just
Right.
a vote to waive it.
We're waiving the third reading.
That's right.
Okay.
Which in essence says it's good.
Yeah. But if you want to vote on it again in 2 weeks or at our next meeting, then if we vote the waiving down, we still get to address it again in 2 weeks. Okay, Deb?
Hardkoff,
Aye.
Summers,
Aye.
Stewart,
Aye.
Cord,
Aye.
Jimerson,
Nay.
Hayes.
Aye.
Okay, the motion to waive the third reading passed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1.
3/4.
And so now, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 953 on the third reading? Is that how we do that?
No, it doesn't.
How do we do that? What do I do?
You're gonna have to need 6 votes to do
We need 3/4.
that. So it's got.
3/4 of the entire,
So it's 6 votes, so
council.
you're all gonna have to vote for it.
so is 5,
3%.
we had 5 votes for it?
Yep.
Is that 3/4?
Well, 6.
Seven. It's 5, 7.
2/3 is 5.
Indeed. So one missing.
You
So
round
we
up.
can't do it?
Round up. Well, if you're gonna get, it's gotta be unanimous with the council that's here.
Yeah.
To
Pass it on.
To waive
pass,
it?
yeah, to
or
waive it.
Oh,
It's
okay,
required.
so we can't do it then, okay. So then, in that way, then it failed. Okay, so we'll move on to item number 4 on the agenda, resolution number 1714, approving the fiscal year 2014 street financial reports.
This is just the annual report, like it says, you have to, this has to be filed with the DOT by September 30th to assure us to continue receiving road use tax money, and it's just a recap of how money was spent on any street construction for the past fiscal year. Question?
Make a motion to approve resolution number 17-14.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, what, that's a roll call? Oh, sorry.
Jimerson.
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Hardkoff.
Aye.
Summers.
Aye.
Stewart. Aye. Court.
Aye.
Okay, resolution 17-14 passed 5-0. 6, sorry, 6-0. All right, next, item number 5, first reading of ordinance number 954, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Atlantic, Iowa by adding a new subsection 62.01-161 that concerns speed regulation. Doug, can you explain this a little?
Yeah, and the chief's here. I think when they did the recodification, there was something that was left out. And
Basically, they just inadvertently dropped a charging section.
The what section?
They dropped a section that we use for charging, so now we're charging it on the state code. We want to go back so the city gets the money instead of the state.
so this basically will put the ordinance back to where it was before the recodification.
Okay, just
And it
corrects
just
it.
inadvertently left out.
Is there a motion to approve it?
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 954 on the first reading.
Second.
And Deb?
Hayes.
Aye.
Hardkoff.
Aye.
Summers.
Aye.
Stewart. Aye. Cord.
Aye.
Jimerson.
Aye.
Okay, ordinance number 954 passed 6-0. Okay, item number 6, a motion to accept a letter of transmittal from the Planning and Zoning Commission to vacate Lot A of Southern Heights subdivision, 2nd edition. And Doug, do you need to explain?
You have a transmission letter from John that expressed the approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission, talking to, our attorney needs to probably go to the Community Development Committee and public hearing has to be scheduled before you can actually vacate, or depends on what the ownership is of that lot, I guess. And talking to Dave, we haven't done the research whether it's right of way or fee title or what, I'm not sure, but that would affect somehow in terms of the procedure. Basically, the council's gonna have to approve it.
Okay, so, and if we accept this letter of transmittal, it just allows us to start the discussion and send it to.
Just shows that you've received and you know the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay.
And
It's
Committee
not
of the council.
taking any action, it's just.
You're not taking any
saying
action,
yes,
you're just receiving their letter.
Is there a motion to
Make-
accept it?
I make a motion to accept the letter of transmittal from the Planning and Zoning Commission to vacate Lot A of Southern Heights subdivision, second edition.
Second.
Okay, it's been, we've had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have to say 6-0? Okay. All right. Item number 7, authorize the mayor to execute loan agreement between the city and RV Atlantic.
We didn't get the final copy of the agreement from their attorney. I do have, we have, because really, I think Dave Wiederstein has reviewed it, has made a recommendation that one clause be added so that if there's any legal disputes, they will pick up the attorney's fees. That's what he wanted to add. The other thing is, if you remember last fall, when they asked for this, structured as such that they would pay a pilot a payment in lieu of tax, since it does not pay taxes to the city, which would, is out of order here? Okay. We're the same thing. So they would pay $750 to the city, which in essence gives the town, I think it was an interest rate of 3.75% on the 15-year loan, and that's what was agreed to last fall. So they have been approved for funding for that project, and so this is basically following up on discussions that you had last fall. It's a $20,000 loan. What we would ask is that you approve or authorize the mayor to sign this after the final document with the language recommended by the attorney is incorporated.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Or, yeah.
I would make a motion that we authorize the mayor to execute a loan agreement between the city and RV Atlantic.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That passed. All right, now we're ready for the administrative report.
I received a letter from the Iowa Department of Transportation that they'll be letting the contract on the reconstruction of US Highway 6 in Atlantic from Olive Street east 1/2 mile on January 21st, 2015. And proposed construction will have to be completed during 2015. So I've had some questions about, when's that going to get started? And obviously, while it's let in January, the work won't happen until the construction season. We continue to have some meetings with Molly relative to accepting and treating their industrial waste from their plant. They've ran into some issues in terms of trying to be compliant. Right now, they're treating their own industrial waste and discharging into the to the river, and they're going to find that very costly and difficult to do. So we've been working with them to analyze what their waste stream is to make sure it's something that the design of our plant can handle. Obviously, we wouldn't want to kill all of our biologicals and throw our system off, so it wouldn't work. But it appears from the information we have so far, it should be very workable. It's gonna have to go to IDNR for approval, and once they get it, I think, and look at it, they have to wait 6 months for a comment period before they can actually start. But I would think, as we're progressing, I would assume we're gonna start working on the agreement now. They're more than happy to pay our current wastewater charges to handle this. I think it should work for both parties very well. You have a copy of a letter before you of understanding that I sent to Nick Bodish, who's representing REX Industrial. They are a ethanol plant company. They have several ethanol plants in the Midwest. And so there's several things that they're interested in getting. For example, our gray water, our treated wastewater that goes into the river. And they're going to be interested in us making improvements to run a line out there to service that property. They are interested in receiving the wastewater at no fee from the city. They said they would be looking at some tax rebates through a TIF. And so I think the letter will kind of summarize, what their questions. We need to make sure in terms of that there's sufficient capacity in our aquifer. There hasn't been a hydrological study done. There are significant water users, so there's some caveats there, but by not needing to draw down from their wells, which are on the same aquifer that the city's AMU's wells are on, that will reduce the amount that they'll have to draw down. So anyway, look at that if you have any questions or thoughts. Obviously, we're just in the midst of negotiations. They're also looking at other sites, and we'll continue to work to try to create a win-win situation. But we're very hopeful that something positive will come from this. I've been, probably take a quick look, and behind you, if you can see how the warping of the walls. I've been working with Ron Spector from REH Architects and Doug Morgan from TB&B&M Construction that did the work, and they've been doing some research to see what needs to be done. They have agreed that it was installed improperly, should not have been glued to the wall, and they will take responsibility. They tell us they will be back in September to remove, but this wainscoting needs to actually float, because you get, in the winter, things are drier, and then this time of year, you get the added humidity, it expands, and voila, we got some problems. So anyway, they will be in next month to fix this. I haven't got an exact date. I asked them to narrow that down for me. We may have to move a council meeting or some meetings for a week while that work's going on, but it looks nice, it just wasn't done right, so they're going to handle the cost responsibility for that. Kathy, do you want to report on the meeting we had to do with?
You can while you're.
Okay. Well, there are a number of people, CADCO, the county, the cities, large users were at a meeting at the chamber at noon today and met with Terry Rimpey, I think is his name, regional sales manager for BroadNet Connect. And what he provides is fiber optic cable to the community. He said they do have fiber optic running through Atlantic, and they're interested in perhaps putting a line and covering Chestnut Street in our downtown. He said the cost of that would be about $500,000 that they would probably be prepared to come up with. I think the figure was between $100,000 and $150,000, so between users, county, city, somebody else would have to come up with the difference. I think internet infrastructure is going to be very important to the community in the future. Just tend to become more important. But it's a complex field, and I think after hearing the comments, and this company does more than just provide the fiber optics. They're also a service company, and they provide a data center and IT support and some other things as well. But it may be helpful for us to work with some of the other parties I think, and get somebody with some real expertise. They can help us take a look at Atlantic and say, what are our needs here for this community looking forward? What's the best way to service this community? Help us put together an RFP that we could ask this company and perhaps other providers to respond to and help us to evaluate that. I mean, this is one company, it might be the best deal, but I think it might be prudent to make sure we have someone help walk us through that process and what we're getting. It's always possible you're going to have companies that would like to come in and sort of cherry pick and take the high volume, best customers. But if you look at who then provides the rest of the service, like MediaCom, they've got fixed costs. So if you take off their high volume, all the rest of the customers, their rates are going to have to go up to pay for that. And so anyway, I just think we just need to make sure we understand the full implication, what the options are. But I do think it's certainly something we ought to be exploring and looking into. And appreciate that people organize that and have these discussions going on, because I think that's something that we need to do.
Doug, do you have anybody in mind that could?
I haven't. This is the first, I think they met before. This is the first meeting I've been invited to. I'm sure there are people in the state, but I'm not that familiar in Iowa, who are the potential consultants we could use that have a real handle. So we probably need to ask around and get some ideas. But you know, I'm sure it's not going to be cheap either. We're going to need to figure out who's the interested parties that might want to share and work with us on that. Asbestos removals began at 611 Lynn Street, so that's moving forward. I think the company's ran into a little bit of hiccup in that they're permitted, but some of the workers out there weren't licensed as required, so I think they got their hands slapped and have to get their act together. As far as the street department, they've been busy trimming trees downtown. Elsewhere in town, I know they've removed 3 trees that were dead in the right-of-way. They finished painting the crosswalks around town for school, and they also finished completing the reflectivity sign program that we got some grants for. So all those signs that meet the new reflectivity requirement have been installed. And I think for the rest of this week and probably in the next couple of weeks, most of the work will be doing some repairs to concrete, doing concrete patching of streets or curb repair. So that'll be the main activity. I also had some calls. I think MediaCom has changed their alignment, and so people have asked where's the city's meeting shown. On channel 18 now they have the analog, and the digital can be found on channel 121. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you. Okay, the mayor's report, since the mayor's not here, he doesn't have one, and he didn't really have anything reported to. Did he mention anything to any of you? So, council reports. Chris?
Nothing.
Ashley?
Nothing. Parks and Rec was moved to next week, so.
I had the airport commission, I couldn't stay for the whole thing, but your notes are in front of you. Payment to various contractors for the construction site, but business as usual.
Good. Last night was the landfill's open house, and so I went out there and, did you?
I wasn't able.
Okay.
I need a copy.
Okay, and it was kind of nice. They gave a tour and showed the facility to those that showed up. So they did that. And so are we having a board meeting this month? I think that was it. Or did we?
I thought you were.
Maybe. Anyway, the open house was last night, so that was nice.
I had the community promotions meeting on Thursday, the 7th. Not much was done, only a couple people showed up, so they just talked about that they're gonna have to discuss budget in the future, and other than that, that's about it. And then I had the Board of Adjustments on Monday, the 11th. It was basically a 12-minute meeting. We just passed a couple variances on lot lines and things like that. That was about it.
Bob?
Chamber of Commerce met August 11th, and two primary topics. The applications for the executive director position closed last Monday, the 18th, and interviews will start. And I believe that process, I believe it's the 25th, so that would be next Monday. They would be ready to offer a position. I could be wrong on that. I looked for my timeline and I didn't find it. Planning and zoning met Tuesday night, and the site plan review for Walnut Hills apartment, which Pat talked to us about in our earlier meeting on August 6th. He explained that to the Planning and Zoning Committee. A lot of heads nodding okay. And then site plan review for Southern Heights, lots 1 and 2, David Sturm and Don Sontag were there to explain that. And the review of the alley vacating project was tabled until more publicity is given to the public. They thought maybe the public was unaware of these potential alley closings and what an alley is and what could happen if you had your cucumbers on the alley that would be closed, that type of thing. So it was more of a proactive, let's wait and get more information to the public.
Okay. Thanks. And clerk's report?
Bills tonight total $54,924.09.
Motion pays those.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go ahead. Financial reports.
The tables of clerk, treasurer, budget, general ledger, airport, volunteer fire department reports for July.
Make a motion to approve the financial report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Okay. This is the time for the public forum. Does anybody from the council have anything to? Yes, John.
David needs to double check the auditor, but I'll bet my Star Wars band here that I'm right. Back in January 29th of 2013, when we first started talking about Southern Heights, we paid Ken Kaufman $800 to do a study on 19th Street. And in the report, he stated that the middle fourplex and the proposed Southern Heights 3 addition is located in the city of Atlantic right-of-way that was reserved for a street to connect to 22nd Street. And in the final plat that was signed by former Mayor Krogman on my birthday, no less, of December 12th of 2005, it states here in the general notes that Lot A was to be dedicated to the city as a street right-of-way, and that was recorded by Joyce Jensen at the recorder's office on the 15th of 2005. So that should resolve the issue of whether it's a street right-of-way or just a lot. So you shouldn't need to have to refer it to committee.
Oh,
You should be able to vacate it if that.
I'll double check.
Yeah.
you do need to double check that? Or
I'm gonna.
You will,
yeah.
okay, all right. Okay. Anything else from the council? Okay, from the public? Matt?
I'm Matt Klein. I'm with the Cass County Freedom Rock Committee, and I've got Dale Anderson here with me. And I don't know how much you guys have been following. I've got some handouts to pass around. But the Cass County Freedom Rock, kind of some history on it. Bubba Sorensen in Greenfield painted the original Freedom Rock outside of Greenfield. He made a commitment to paint one Freedom Rock in each county in the state of Iowa. The city of Lewis applied for that last fall and were awarded that. So this is just kind of continuing on that project. We're still waiting to get it painted. He's kind of backlogged on all the commitments he's made, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So at this point, we've got a rock donated. We've stood it up in the park. We've poured a concrete foundation in the shape of Iowa around it. And now we're just going around looking for support from all the communities in Cass County. This is truly a county rock. We've been to 3 or 4 different cities now. We've gotten quite a bit of good support, some people that have wanted to join our committee to have their input. And that's really what we're looking for now is doesn't necessarily have to be somebody from council. We're just looking for somebody from the city that has interest in the project, that would like to come on board and lend their support, lend their ideas. And of course, money never hurts either. So if the city's got any extra money that they'd like to throw towards the project, we would greatly appreciate it. We've applied for some grants at this point. We're looking at doing some landscaping. We're selling bricks that are engraved with veterans' names on it that can be purchased. We're going to do a veterans display around the rock, some flagpoles, and quite a few different things that we're looking to do.
If an individual's interested, how do they contact you?
Yeah, they can. Well, right now we've got a Facebook page. We've been advertising in the paper. They've been generous and ran a couple stories for us. We had a booth at the fair handing out forms and my cell phone number and just different ways to get a hold. Yeah, and that's one of the things that we'd be looking for somebody to come on. How do we get this out to people? We're trying to get in touch with some veteran organizations, and we hate to direct mail to those veterans just because that seems kind of tacky, but you know, it's trying to figure out how do you get your foot into those groups and you know, present that information to them. But so far, we've had pretty good feedback on the bricks, just from the little bit we were able to do at the fair. Handed out quite a few flyers and forms to be filled out, and we've gotten, I don't know, Dale, do you know how many we've gotten back of those forms? I don't know. Maybe half a dozen so far.
So are you just looking for publicity right now and volunteers?
Yeah, I mean,
Money?
we're not gonna say no to money if you wanna give us money. But yeah, we're looking for publicity, we're looking for people to come on board with us and join that committee, have their input. We don't have a scheduled time to meet. We meet when people are available, when we have news to share, when we've got, you know, something to accomplish. We get together. We've kind of did a rough estimate of, because we filled out some grants, so we had to have some numbers to throw in there. And you add it all up, and we came up with $25,000. Between your landscaping, we're looking to do a flag for, obviously, an American flag and an Iowa flag, and then a flag for every branch of service, a POW and MIA flag. So you're looking at a fair amount of flagpoles right there, and those are $800 and $900 a piece with solar lighting on them. So that right there's a pretty good chunk, and then you've got some landscaping. We want to do a sidewalk up to that, up to the rock. That picture's kind of deceiving. That rock's actually about 7 feet off the ground. You look at that picture and it looks small, but that's how big that pad of Iowa is.
So is there a phone number that you?
Yeah, my phone number should be on.
It's on this picture?
Yep. And I think I've got Craig Meyer. He's kind of the other person heavily involved. He's the one that actually, he saw the article in the paper, and 2-3 months later he decided, well, maybe I should call and see if anybody's got it. You know, for Cass County, nobody had yet, so he went ahead and applied.
You are being broadcasted if you want to give your phone number out. Or if you don't, that's fine.
Sure. My phone number is 249-6818. And if you've got any questions about the project, anybody wants to be involved in the project or donate, you know, even just cash donations. We don't turn those away either.
You mentioned the bricks earlier. Maybe I wasn't listening. Where are these being put once they're?
Yeah, we're building, Dwayne Wyrick has been pretty involved in this as well. He's going to build display cases that hold 48 bricks. They're galvanized steel, so they'll sit off the ground kind of at an angle. We received quite a bit of feedback from some veterans that they don't want their bricks displayed on the ground. They want them up. And that's another significant cost. Those are probably about $600 to build those. They're pretty heavy duty to hold 48 bricks. And those will go around, kind of around the state of Iowa. So the state of Iowa, you'll actually, that's actually a sidewalk. You'll walk around on the state of Iowa to look at all sides of that rock, and the bricks that are displayed. So if anybody else has questions or needs any information, let me know.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
I was gonna say, as a little added incentive, try to get some money out of each of the communities. We've come up with these blocks. They're a 8x8 block, and anyone who donates at least $500 will have one of these printed with, you know, the City of Atlantic, and the fact that you're a major sponsor, a major donor, and these will all be in a special area, separate from where the veterans are. The actual veterans bricks will look like this, and this is the color I think we're going to go with. And it's going to have 3 lines of print. You can put the person's name and their branch of service, and then the war or the years that they were in the service. And these are going for $50. And anybody who fills out one of the forms can order one of these. Once we get a good quantity of orders in, we'll be ordering the bricks and having those all shipped at once. It's a little cheaper that way.
Dale, do you designate what veteran you want on the brick? You order one, or you're just gonna give the
You
money?
mean on this brick?
No,
on the block?
Yeah, no.
On the brick?
Yeah, right.
Okay, brick and the block, I guess, technically. Yes, well, we want to keep them pretty consistent. We want them to have the name of the person, and according to the company that makes these, you get 18 characters per line. So it'd be like, you know, you could put Private First Class John Smith or whatever, and then put the branch of the military that they were in, whether it was Army or Navy or Marines, whatever. And then at the bottom, they could either put in like Korean War or Vietnam, or they could say like from 1966 to 1968 or something like that. It all has to fit within those 18 characters, and that includes spaces, so they're a little limited on how much they can actually put on each line.
But
Does that answer your question?
Can a non-veteran order one for a veteran?
Yes, that's what normally happens, yeah. A family member will order a brick for a son or a daughter or uncle or whoever, and place it in their name. Any other questions?
Thank you. Is there anyone else or something in the public forum?
I think John and Dave may be answering the question, but up at the Southern Heights 2, what we have is 10 condominiums and maybe 12 if this street right-of-way is vacated. And we have 2 of these sold, but I can't start until we have this issue resolved, and then we'll move forward in building those units. So thank you.
Okay. Anything else in the public forum? All right.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.